In this video, I want to show you how you shouldn't buy a dumb phone, but instead you should download one. You should build your own, one that's specifically designed for you so that it actually works for you long-term and not just short-term. Because look, I know that all of us will try different screen time apps and they've been great for a day, a week, or a month, and then we just turned it off and went our merry way. Well, in this video, I want to show you methods that actually stick, that actually last, and you can't cheat. That's the beauty of it. So keep watching and I'll show you how. You see, we live in this world where we want to use technology less, or at least in a way that it works for us, rather than we working for it. And this has thrown me into a journey about using and looking for dumb phones. And I've used so many dumb phones over the years. I've even imported from Japan and used the most expensive dumb phones that have USB-C and Android and the whole shebang. I've also used pretty dumb phones, like the Nokia brick phones, the ones that have a snake, and pretty much everything in between. And they all have pros and cons, but none of them really stuck with me. They all had something missing, or they had something extra that meant that I couldn't really use them long term. And this, I think, creates all sorts of problems. So in this video, I want to talk about dumb phones and what they're good at and what we want from them, but then also talk about the problems. Then I want to compare Android versus iOS and which one is the best platform for dumbing down your smartphone so that it has all the things you want, but none of the things you don't want. Essentially, we are downloading software to download a dumb phone that we can install on our phones and use. And then lastly, I'm going to tell you which one I choose, as well as how you can make this happen today on your phone, whether you're on iOS or on Android. The first thing I want to talk about is what we love about dumb phones. And if you ask me, there's so many things. But one of the things that I've noticed that people are longing for is the tactile. They're funky, they come in different shapes, they got character. You can usually throw them, they'll survive, so they're robust. They usually have good battery life, although the current ones don't really have that good battery life. But anyways, they're basic, you don't have to think about it. They're also inexpensive, which is a big plus. Now, I know that I can use my computer, but when I'm out and about, I need to do a bank transfer, or I need to pay someone because I'm doing a Facebook marketplace sale, then a smartphone is really handy. As well as many other things like good navigation. I took it for granted until I tried to use Google Maps on a dumb phone. Or some of them didn't even have it. And yes, I know that you can buy maps. I will go to Google Maps, plan out my route, write it down, and use it that way. But there's also lots of unexpected things that happen in life. That means that you have to react to. And you can ask my wife, I'm terrible at directions. So a dumb phone without maps really wasn't for me. The other issue that I have is their security issues. Usually dumb phones either have no end-to-end encryptions, their privacy is pretty bad because they use very old protocols. Or the ones that have all these things, they're really expensive. They cost more than a smartphone. And the typing experience is horrible. And yet some of them can actually have really good voice to text. And I got used to voice to text because I even tuned my Apple Watch into a sort of pseudo dumb phone for a long time. And I absolutely love it. However, again, it had limitations. There was a lot of apps that didn't really fully work properly. And that means that I wasn't very effective or really enjoy messaging people, which means that I'll stop talking to people. And for me, part of the whole point is to actually communicate and connect with people, both when I'm with them in person, but also afar. And part of my job is to communicate and talk with a lot of people. And not having a smartphone really costs me every day. There's so many things, simple things, that on a smartphone, it takes me half a second and then I can just get on with my life. But when it comes to the dumb phone, it will take me so long, there's so many workarounds. And then there's the options of just taking so many things with you, like an iPod and a calculator, I don't know, you know what I mean? You end up taking this whole CDs and cassettes and a camera recorder, and you know, some of the everyday carries get pretty crazy. Now, I understand that a lot of it is aesthetics and a tactile nature, and I think there is a use for single-use devices. But for me, I love the fact of how versatile smartphones are. My problem isn't necessarily about spending too much time on my calculator app, but instead it will be things like YouTube or Reddit, or just Googling things that really are helpful for me, or just a total time waster. And it's pretty amazing, even as someone who did not get into TikTok, those things are addictive. And I wanted to make a stop. But for the reason I've just explained, Dumbphones, they can be good, but at the same time, most of them still have a browser, and some of them you can remove, but there's still ways to work around it. I've always pretty much find a way to side load an app or use an alternative so that I can still get my dopamine fix, while at the same time giving up all the good things that a smartphone have. This means that I'll try to build my own smartphone, and I think this is the key. You know, we shouldn't buy a Dumbphone. We should build it. And that's what I tried to do. I had a look, okay, how can I essentially trim off all the hard edges of my smartphone so that it has all the things that I enjoy about a Dumbphone, but also all the things that I enjoy about a smartphone. Now, there's lots of different apps that will kind of give you 90% there, and they're pretty amazing. However, that 10% is enough for me to tune it off. I find them way too easy to tune off, which it kind of fulfills the whole purpose. They're too easy to bypass. That again, what's the point of having all the restrictions if you can just bypass them by pressing a single button, or a few, if you know how. And that's what I love about Dumbphones. They're kind of set and forget. However, they're usually set in a way that doesn't work for me. So I need to make my own changes. Now, I want to talk about, well, which is the best platform to do this? Because I've done this in both Android and use it extensively, but also iOS, and I've used that extensively. And then I want to tell you which one I've chosen for my everyday. Let me start with Android. Android has, on paper, the most potential. It's the most open and lots of software. However, I've only really found one that works really well and that I've enjoyed using. And it works on pretty much most phones, although some of the restrictions are not there. So I'll recommend that you use something like a Google Pixel to get the best results. But I've used Nothing phones with it, Samsung phones, and it works really well. What you need to do is use an app called Andoff with another app called HeartGuard, and you combine them, and they allow you to choose the apps you want and block everything else, but also choose the websites you want and block everything else. But the beauty with these two apps is that you can still keep the apps up to date, and you can still keep security updates and operating system updates on your Android device. And this is huge for me because I hated the fact that I will be using less than practical privacy devices with my Dumbphones, or with some of the other apps. They take away the App Store, which means I can't update my apps. But if I leave the App Store, then I can download any app I want. But the beauty with Andoff is that you can have the App Store and update the apps, but you can't download any new app unless you put a password, or you've set a 1-day delay or a 7-day delay. You have to wait, and then it will be approved. There's flexibility on how you do that. I prefer the password method, but the delay works really well if used wisely. The other thing I love about Android is you can have really good accountability software. This is really helpful for social media, but also for things like pornography. And having an accountability partner where they can see everything you do on your phone, that's enough for most people, including myself, to stop you going on those websites. And that's one thing that works really well on Android. And what you can do is you can use Andoff to lock those apps so they work really well on your Android device, and you can't just turn it off whenever you want. However, there is a combination of apps. You can't kind of use them all at the same time. And this is where Android starts to fall off for me a little bit, because although it's very flexible, it does take a lot of tinkering to get it working. And usually you're still going to have to give up something to make it work. But overall, with their system, it's bulletproof, it's very flexible, But another downside is that it does cost money. Now, it's still cheaper than buying a dumb phone or anything else, especially a light phone, but it's totally worth it. And it only costs, again, a few dollars. And for what it does, I think it's worth supporting the developer. Well, what about if you love iOS? I love Apple. I love using iOS, but I grew up using PCs and Android, and I was a late boomer to the whole Apple ecosystem. However, they do have a really compelling system for you to do the same things on Android but on iOS. But I think, again, I'm biased, they're a little bit better. And that's because you can use Apple's own software, so first party instead of third party, in order to achieve the same things. Choose the apps you want, choose the websites, block everything else. But it works so well, and it works to such a degree that it'll block things like in-app browsers. And there is no workaround, because this is a software used for businesses to lock down devices across a company. So they're really robust and they're easy to implement and deploy. I have the same profile for my iPad and my iPhone, which means if I change one, very easy to change both of them, because I kind of want it the same way. Because an iPad is just a big phone, really. And that's what I love about it, because it's free, gives you more options with the Apple Configurator 2 method. Now, I remember that I set this perfect system on my Android device. I was using the latest Samsung phone just a few years ago, and I loved it. But at the same time, I realized that I could do the same on iPhone. And when I had the option of choosing one over the other, because I'm still going to use my phone in such a limited way that I'm not going to have any time wasters on my phone. I'm not going to have YouTube. I'm not going to have anything that I need accountability for, because you can't really go wrong with the things I have, like Strava and Garmin, and things like WhatsApp. I was only choosing between ecosystems and platforms. And for me, and personally, in the way that my family works and friends and where I live, Apple is just a lot more dominant. And I love using Apple computers, and the integration is just, was it a kiss, chef? One of the two. The integration just works so well. So because I could choose one or the other, I just chose iOS. But I do believe they kind of work the same on both. The added benefit for me with the iPhone is that it's free instead of paying. And also it just integrates so well with the whole operating system that I'm never worried about, I'm going to find a bypass. I've really tried, and you can't really find one. Not the way that I show you how to set it up. That's why I've chosen it as my everyday. And I've used it for 2 years. So I've run into most scenarios where you might think having a lockdown iPhone, it's really weird and it'll run into a bunch of problems. And you can watch the video after this one where I talk about how to overcome those issues, or whether they're actually issues to begin with. My approach to dumb phones and smartphone is to customize them and build one that works for me. You have all these companies creating these perfect phones and software to manipulate you, to get them spending more time on Snapchat or whatever the social media of your choice is. And look, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But that's not something I want to do. And if you want to escape this rat race of scrolling, then I highly recommend that you don't buy a dumb phone, but instead you build it with the smartphone that you probably already have. And this is the beauty, is that you don't have to wait till tomorrow or order on Amazon. You can do it today. I've got 2 tutorials. Actually, I've got more than 2. For Android, you'll require 2 videos. But go watch my videos on how to show you step by step on iOS or on Android, how to get the system set up. And if you have questions, please let me know in the comments below, because I would love to help you. The reason I have this channel is because I've really struggled to find source of information on how to do this in a practical way. Not on one extreme or the other extreme, but in a way that it means that it works for every day and for pretty much every lifestyle, because you can customize it. And that's one extra thing I love about building your own smartphone or building your own dumb phone, is that it looks like a smartphone, which means you don't stand out in public. Now, if you want to stand out, go for it. But I don't want people to know that I've done that on my iPhone. And what this has meant for me over the years is that I can actually use it for every day because I have my bank app, I got my maps, I got my iMessage, I got my integration, and it just works flawlessly. I've updated from operating system to operating system, and I haven't had any issues so far. So I highly recommend it. Please let me know what sort of apps you use if you have extra ones, or if you have given this a go, but maybe it didn't work. I'd love to know why. Lastly, just before I go, I want to talk about screen time and why I don't use screen time. And I've made a few videos about it, but at the end of the day, screen time is more limited. I can't quite customize the phone that I really wanted to. And even though you could customize it very similarly to just using Apple Configurator, my biggest problem is it requires another person to log in into your phone on screen time, set up their account and a passcode, and then every time you want to make a change, you have to ask for the passcode. Now this might work really well for you if you've got a spouse or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or someone, a good friend who will do this for you, but it's quite inconvenient. And I just don't think it's very practical. But my biggest problem isn't even that. I think I've used it for a few years and it worked. My biggest problem is you can't update your apps. Oh, it just drives me crazy because I have FOMO. I fear that my apps are missing features. But most importantly, they're also not as private as they could be, because especially for bank apps, I want them to be, well looked after and private so that I'm not getting hacked and people stealing my money and things like that. So I really value being able to update the apps. And the beauty with the Apple Configurator is that I can have the apps I want, the website I want, block everything else, and keep everything up to date without me needing to get a code each time or compromise my setup. So it just works really well. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this video talking about dumb phones, what they are, and how we can build a better one. Because I don't want you to buy a dumb phone, I want you to build it. So go do it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.